Hey, everybody, and welcome to Get Your Geek On's review of the newest Marvel movie, The Marvels.
The Marvels, which of course is the sequel to Captain Marvel and stars Brie Larson, Tiona Paris, Iman Vellani, Samuel L. Jackson, and Zawe Ashton. We're going to jump right in. We're going to start with non-spoilers,
Yes.
and then we'll get into spoilers. But just right off the bat, how did you enjoy The Marvels?
I actually enjoyed it. Is what we've talked about before. It's a popcorn flick. It's one of those sit back, don't expect. Of course, with Marvel movies, there's not very many that you expect to get like mind blown. Yes, there are some heartfelt ones, which many of you talked about, but there are some that are just there for good action, good storytelling. And I
Yeah.
think this one just had a lot of good action behind it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the ongoing saga of the MCU, where we have more than 30 movies, we've got like 10 TV shows, like this feels like a fun chapter that you can just like, it's almost like a comic book, it's not a
Right,
world-changing event, it's not a huge, but pick it up, read it, enjoy it, have a good time, and then move on. And that's kind of
right.
what this felt like. Like this was a fun follow-up movie. It featured some really fun characters, had some, weird Marvel cosmic stuff going on, which I
Mhm.
enjoyed. I had a good time with it. Is it the best Marvel movie that's ever come out? No, absolutely not.
Right,
It's also nowhere near the worst one. I thought
right.
the humor was pretty good. I thought there was a lot of good action. Again, I liked a lot of the characters. The plot itself was interesting enough. I thought they
Mhm.
found an interesting way to make it work. Um, and a standard Marvel complaint is the villain is underdeveloped and isn't that interesting.
Right.
But
Not
other than
all.
that, like the movie was pretty good. So yeah, I think ultimately I had a good time. So as we get again non-spoilers,
Mhm.
what were some of your favorite either and we won't talk specific moments, but
Right.
favorite either like uh, you know, character beats or or performances, something like that. Like just, give me some high level stuff that you enjoyed in this one.
I really enjoyed Kamala Khan. We got to see her
Yeah.
in Ms. Marvel, and that actress is just nailing that part.
Yeah,
She's hitting that home
Amon
run.
Vellani. Yeah.
She is hitting home runs with it. She's, not only. I think here's my thing. We know who Brie Larson's character as Captain Marvel is. We've seen her in the Captain Marvel movie. We had a
Mm-hmm.
couple glimpses of her in Avengers. Um, I think we all kind of established, okay, here she is. And Ms. Marvel's character is the nice audience of everything. This is what everyday people kind of are when they're
Yeah.
kids, when they see their superhero they fall in love with,
She's a
and
fangirl. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
And I love that about her, and I love that she can sell that. Uh Again, Brie Larson's doing a great job of being Captain Marvel. I think she's still rough around the edges, but I'm thinking more and more that's how they're making this character, and I was okay with that. Maria Rambeau, again, she's doing
Monica.
great work. Monica Rambeau, you're right? Sorry, Monica Rambeau's actress is amazing as well. She's hitting those points. She's showing character development that we don't really get to see because it goes from child to adult, and we
Mm-hmm.
just have to assume, okay, here's what's happening. But the actress sells it. Like, this is why I am who I am. And
Yeah.
of course, Samuel Jackson is just Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, once again, this is something that Marvel has done consistently all the way back, to Iron Man, is sometimes the words on the page, sometimes the script isn't quite bringing what you want it to, but the performances of the actors usually compensates for that. And I feel
Exactly.
that same way, especially with our lead trio, Brie Larson, Tiona Paris, and Iman Vellani. They are bringing depth and kind of
Mhm.
a filler to these character beats that might otherwise be a little bit underdeveloped.
Right.
And one of the things that I found really fun and interesting is you have Captain Marvel, who has been
Mhm.
this powerful cosmic entity for 30 years in the timelines of this movie. Like it's
Right.
been since the early 90s. She's been, mostly running around, the cosmic universe. She hasn't been much on Earth, but,
Right.
she's been heroing for that time. Right. And then
Mhm.
you have two relatively new people, but very different. Again, you have Tiona Paris, Monica Rambeau, who, had wanted to be an astronaut. She's, clearly like she is an adult and she knows what she wants and she's going for it. Yes, her
Mhm.
powers are new, but her personality is very established. She knows what she wants. She knows how to go about things. And then, yeah, you have Miss Marvel, who is totally new to this whole scene and is, maybe not as cynical or jaded
Mhm.
as some of our other characters. She still, views the world through bright-eyed optimism. She hasn't had maybe her, canon event, as Spider-Verse would say, where she hasn't lost
Right.
anything really yet. And so, watching as we are the audience surrogate and we're kind of going through this with her and, being introduced to new and interesting things through her perspective, but kind of having that, growing up perspective of this where she's, there's a particular scene, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but where there's an attack happening and she's trying to
Mhm.
save everyone,
Right.
and kind of has that moment of realization that we can't save everyone.
Right.
Right, save who you can save, but it's not going to be everyone, and kind of like seeing her come to terms with that. Again, I thought the actress brought things to that maybe weren't explicitly said or weren't, in the script, if you will. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the performances in this movie are really, really strong. And I think overall, I had a fun time with it. I got to see it twice, which has been a minute since I've gotten to see
Oh yeah.
a Marvel movie multiple times in theaters. I used to go like before I had a family, I used to go at least twice to every single Marvel movie. Nowadays, I'm like, I get there once always, but I got to see
Yeah.
this one twice and I enjoyed it more the second time, where
Right.
I knew where it was going and I was able to focus more on some of those character beats and some of those performances. I had a really fun time. Again, maybe not the best movie of all time, not the best Marvel movie, but I don't know. I feel like if you're not enjoying this one, you might need to tap out on the MCU. Like
Yeah.
this is kind of like it's not the same as, phases 1, 2, and 3. I get it. And you know, right now things feel a little bit like where is everything leading? But if you
Right.
remember, like back to, the first couple of phases, it really wasn't until midway through phase 2 when the
Right.
Guardians came out that people were like, "Oh, we're actually doing Infinity War and
Right.
Thanos." Like, that's not, there were like 10 movies before that happened where, like that wasn't it wasn't all tied together.
Right.
Yes, we had Iron Man and Hulk and Thor, and they were kind of sort of interacting with one another. But, if you were looking at that, with the same lens that we're looking at it now, you'd be like, these story beats don't line up. This isn't,
Right.
yeah. So, let's keep the faith. This is another chapter where, building relationships of these characters so that down the road, when we have maybe our next event movie,
Right.
these characters have that pre-established relationship that they can jump right into, and they already have that. We saw that with like the Guardians and Thor when they came together, and then we were able to use that relationship later in the movie. I just
Right.
think like this is something that Marvel does, and I thought this was a fun chapter.
It was. It was a very fun chapter. Again, there's, not to get into spoilers, there are a couple things that we see that connect it to other things. But
Yeah.
right now, again, let's just have those fun stories that we don't need to right now build up to Kang, because that's eventually where we're supposed to be going. Is Kang
Sure,
Dynasty?
they've announced it.
So we don't need that story build up right now. Like, okay, yeah, some movies are tied to it, and I like that we honestly didn't get any of that here because it had nothing to do with him. It's not like, oh, we have to connect this. No, it's just here's
Yeah.
Captain Marvel dealing with stuff she's done for the last 30 years that she has to pay ramifications for, I guess, in her mind.
I mean, can you imagine if like, they had already announced that we were getting Infinity War and
Mm-hmm.
Endgame at the time Iron Man 3 came out? Everyone would
Mm-hmm.
be like, this doesn't connect. What the heck is this? Why does this exist? Like,
Yep.
yeah, and it's like because not every chapter is directly connected. Sometimes it's about the characters, and this one is about the characters. It's about, the people. Yes, there are some plot points that kind of cross over, and I'm sure we'll build off of those, but ultimately it's about the characters. So we talked a lot about things we liked. Now let's get into maybe a couple things that we didn't like. Again, non-spoilers, but what were a couple things that you weren't as big a fan of?
I mean, again, and I've said this several times, I feel like we're starting to lose what Nick Fury is supposed to be. And there were a couple times where it's like, yep, there's Nick Fury again. But there were so many other times where it's like, oh, that's the goofy Nick Fury. I don't like that. That didn't hit well. Again, you hit it already with the villain. The villain being very twirling mustache kind of guy, as you say it sometimes. It's like, okay, well, why are we here? Like, you're just a villain that almost for the sake of being a villain. Like, it's not one of those like, hey, let's try to work something out for the better. Let's just be villain to be villain.
It was really underdeveloped, because you kind of, you see as the story goes on what the motivation for the villain is, right? And it's understandable, it's relatable, right? We go, okay, I can get on board with that if you have a strong enough performance, or you have a strong enough kind of a time on screen. And I just feel like we didn't get that with this villain. It was kind of like they peppered in, they threw in like, hey, this is why you should care about what the villain's trying to do. But then we moved on. And by the time we got to the finale and the choice the villain makes, then it really felt like, they went, well, we have to have a villain. Right?
It really did. Yeah.
It was disappointing. It was a little bit jarring. Again, it was just kind of like, this story was about the Marvels, right? It wasn't about that particular villain. And so, again, the choices that they made, okay, I'm fine with. I agree with you on Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. It's no secret that Secret Invasion was a complete letdown, and just was not at all what we wanted, and at times really felt like a betrayal of the character. And this is better in terms of the portrayal than that was, but it does feel like maybe we've lost our way with this Nick Fury. Like, the last time we really had a full performance from him that felt like Nick Fury was in Captain Marvel, the first one. And that was early, Nick Fury. So he wasn't fully fleshed out. So if you really look and go backwards at the last time we had like fully fleshed out, full on Nick Fury, we're talking like Winter Soldier and Avengers Ultron. It's been a long time, because we barely saw him in, Infinity War and Endgame. He was in like the post-credit scene. He was at Tony's funeral. He was in Far From Home, but again, that wasn't actual Nick Fury. That was a Skrull. That was Talos as Nick Fury. And then, we saw him in, Secret Invasion, which, the less said about that, the better. So it does feel like maybe we're losing our way with this character who, again, was so pivotal and interesting in, like, especially in phase 1 and into phase 2. And maybe it's just time to, put him out to pasture. Maybe it's time to introduce Daisy Johnson and have her take over S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know.
There's so many ways to go with it. Again, or just give me back Nick Fury. Give me back Age of Ultron Nick Fury. Give me back Winter Soldier. And the easy way to do it is, oh, they stabbed this Nick Fury. Oh, he's life model decoy. Oh, that's why it wasn't fully Nick Fury. He was still a robot. And then bam, here comes Nick Fury, badass again. Like, okay, here he is. This is my Nick Fury.
There you go.
And again, it could also just be he's in the shadows. Nick Fury isn't supposed to be on the front lines. He is supposed to be, younger Nick Fury. We can argue, yes, you have the Fury comics and all that, where he is the espionage and does all that. But as he got older, it was more of like the chess pieces. He moves them.
Wait. Is he old? I don't think Secret Invasion told us enough times that he was old.
Are you sure? We could add more to that. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, as he got older in the comics to me, or, been around, it's more of like, I don't really go out in the field, but I will manipulate all the superheroes to do what I want them to do. And then when they come after me for being a bad guy, it's going to be the whole, well, it's for the greater good kind of conversations and stuff. And then everybody just knows he's that guy that's okay. Like we did it with General Ross. when we've seen him a couple of times in Black Widow and all that, he's not really on the front line. He's just there.
Yeah.
And it's like, do that to Nick Fury. Like, oh, why is he here? Then that gives that the viewer that, oh, this is a big event because now he's on the ground sending all the troops in, or getting the superheroes to do something. And then when it backfires or whatever, it's like, let's blame Nick Fury.
I mean, if you think about what he did in like phase 1, right? He showed up in Tony's house and recruited him for the Avengers. He yelled at him in Iron Man 2 for dicking around. And then he rejected him from the Avengers. And in the actual Avengers, again, he just kind of was on the helicarrier the whole time. The only action moment he did is he like shot a rocket launcher at a plane. Like that was it. Like, they had like that one little skirmish, I guess, when Loki attacks the helicarrier where he's like, in the control room shooting a gun and whatever. But, like, he didn't have any big hand-to-hand fights or like
and
anything
that's how
like
it
that.
should be, I think.
Right. Like, he's the guy. He's the ultimate guy in the chair. Right. Like, he is orchestrating everything. He's, supporting everyone. Like, that is what he should be doing.
And I love how you say that comment, because I think the best Nick Fury move we ever had was in that film with the cards in Philip, or what's his face's pocket,
Coulson,
Coulson, and they're like, they weren't in his pocket. I know.
He needed the push.
Yeah, and that is a Nick Fury right there. That is a Nick Fury I miss.
That and faking his death.
Those are Nick Fury 101. Fake your death to manipulate everybody.
Right.
But I missed that. So anyway, we're ranting on him a little too much.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into spoilers, but before we do that, we're going to give our score and our rating and talk about, again, just kind of wrap up our thoughts. So I will go first. Okay. I'm going to give this like a solid, 6.8 out of 10. Like, this is good. This is a good movie.
It really is.
I had a lot of fun with it. Again, it didn't maybe hit as emotionally strong as I would have wanted it to. I thought there were opportunities to do that at a couple moments. And it did have kind of a weak villain, and a little bit of a mischaracterization of Nick Fury. But ultimately, our main trio, I think, knock it out of the park. I like their dynamic. I like the adventure that they go on. I like a lot of the action in the movie. And I thought it ends in a really interesting place. I thought all of the characters kind of, learned something or did something, that kind of completed their arc for this movie. And so ultimately it was satisfying. It was fun. I had a good time. And I'm glad I watched it a second time. I enjoyed it even more that time. And I'll look forward to watching it, again down the road.
Exactly. And, you, like you said, you have only been able to watch movies more recently, just the one time. I get lucky. I get to watch them twice. I go with you guys, and then I take my kiddo out. We watch him again. I will say, I think I really enjoyed the second viewing more than the first. So if this was after the first viewing, I'd probably give it like a 6. But after that second viewing, I'd say somewhere between 6.5 and 7. I don't know exactly where, because here's my thing.
I said 6.8. Say, like, you got to be different. Like, say 6.7.
I'll give it 7. I'll give it 7. Because it's one of those, you hit it on the dot. There's the things around them sometimes, the villain, Nick Fury, and a couple other little things. Was like, this is not hitting. But them three, having those three on screen and having them tell this story, nailed it for me. I was like, okay, these people are selling it for me. They are telling me the story I want to see. Each one is coming, like you said, from a different angle. You have Captain Marvel, who is really jaded and a loner. You have Rambeau, who's more of like, okay, I'm a team player. I work on this. I do all this. It's for the team. It's for the mission. And then you got Kamala Khan, who's more like, I'm just happy to be here. Like, that's just really what I am.
That's her vibe.
It was nice to see all those perspectives and how each one interacts with the other and how they interact with each other. And that gives it that 7, where again, I think if after that first watch, it would have been lower because everything around him was kind of okay. The villain, Nick Fury, and a couple other little things we'll get into in the spoilers. But yeah, I think it was a good 7. But now we have to move on to that spoiler territory.
Yeah.
And do we want to start at the end of the film, or do we want to start? Where do we want to start?
It sounds like you want to start at the end of the film.
I want to start with the post-credit scene.
Let's build to that. All right. Okay. So, obviously this movie, centers around a lot around, Kamala's bangle bracelet and the second one, which it seems like these are, the quasar quantum bands,
See,
but they
that's what I
don't
don't
give us
get.
quasar.
No, missed
But
opportunity.
that's what it seems like these were, and they kind of established them as, things that help you transport through space and time.
Hmm.
And that, like the entire, the jump points that we've seen characters use were created with these quantum bands.
Right.
And that kind of actually, I appreciated that, because remember that episode in Miss Marvel where she
Hmm.
travels backwards to, like, 1950s
Right.
India / Pakistan. And that was like, and she kind of name drops and talks like, oh yeah, it did transport me through space and time once. And you're like, oh yeah, like that.
Yep.
So I thought that was an interesting way to tie it together, and I thought it was a really interesting way, again, to I thought their entanglement of their powers was a really interesting way to keep them together,
Yes.
because there were certainly points in the story where you go like, they would not let Kamala on this adventure, right?
Right.
But she has to be there, because if they switch out accidentally, now she's gonna end up somewhere, like, unless they literally like put her in a cage and don't let her use her powers,
Right.
like, she's gonna switch with them accidentally.
Right.
And so I thought that was a really clever way to, kind of force her to be on this journey before she's really ready for it.
Right.
And again, I liked the way there were emotional beats that they hinted at, and I wanted them to land harder.
Hmm.
But kind of the estrangement between Carol and Monica, where Monica is talking about, like, you left when I was a kid, you said you were coming back, and then you just disappeared on me, and I didn't
Right.
need the mighty Captain Marvel. I just wanted my Aunt Carol back.
Right.
And again, I thought that was all, like, that all worked for me. I
Hmm.
wanted it to hit a little harder, but I thought it was an interesting character beat. And then yeah, you have Kamala, who is like totally fangirling, and then she's like, oh, I'm being cringe, I'm being awkward, like, she
Yeah. She
she's
knows
trying
she
to like
is.
pull it back, but she's not really able to.
Right.
But as she gets to know actual Captain Marvel, rather than just this idealized version of her
Right.
that she's built in her mind, I think she really starts to appreciate her even more,
Right.
and kind of understand what they do. And yeah, I mean, we have that character of Captain Marvel who feels like she has you know earned this
Hmm.
nickname of the Annihilator, and she is ashamed that she has
Yeah.
earned that nickname, right? And so I like, again, by the ending, she gets to bring the sun back to Hala, to the Kree
Hmm.
people. Um, we get Monica, who gets to sacrifice herself for her family, gets to sacrifice herself for the world.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get, Kamala kind of, growing up and maturing and seeing what it
Hmm.
takes. And I love the moment. It is so perfect at the end when she gets the second bangle, and and Carol's like, "Are you ready for this?" And she like does this whole like these things have come through time and space to find me. I was
Yes.
born for this, and I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
like,
That was such a kid kind of moment too. Like, I'm
yeah.
invincible. I don't care. We got this. Like we're all at that age at teenagers where we think we're invincible.
But it was
And it's
totally Miss
so,
Marvel. Like,
yeah,
it is that character.
it,
So
it
I loved
really
it.
is.
Yeah.
I think you kind of hit everything that I wanted to say on it. Again, the how should I put it? The family dynamic, because we also have Kamala's counts. We hadn't even touched on them yet. Their family,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
who still are like iffy with her because it's like, the first scene we get with them. What is Captain Marvel bringing you into? What are these people doing to you? And
Oh,
I
the door broke itself. Okay.
yes, I loved it because it's like they don't believe her still, even though they know she
Yeah.
has powers. It's like, okay. And then you get the other scene where the mom is on point. The mom is very much a mom, where I think it was the scene where Rambo talks about like her powers or something, and she's like, "Oh, very good for you. That's very nice. Where's my daughter?" Like,
Yeah.
bam! I was like, "Yeah, that's
So,
mom."
I'm
That's
very happy for you. Where is my daughter?
yes. I love that part. I was like, this
Yeah.
is funny. The family was funny. The dad going up into space, like trying not to throw up. The brother who's trying to record stuff and Fury just looking at him like, no, you can't be doing that. They were the comic relief, but they
Yeah.
were fun to have on board because this is a family who's literally getting thrown into this mix, and we don't get
Mm-hmm.
that too often because like no one else but really, I would say Spider-Man had a family unit. Tony doesn't, Captain doesn't, Thor. I mean, you could argue Thor, but they're all Asgardians and
And
gods.
they
They're
all
used to this.
die. Loki
So don't
dies
be
in every movie. Frigga dies in number 2. Odin dies in number 3. Like, yeah, they're just all dying all the
so
time.
don't be related to Thor or you're dead. Got it. Good to know. Never get related to him. Don't marry into
Yeah,
the family.
and the Warriors 3 all die.
Oh yeah, they are dead. Oh god, they are all dead.
Like
So-
Thor, literally, like that's that. I mean, they touch on that in Infinity War. Was like
Yeah.
he's everybody.
Yeah, anyone that
lost
knows
them
you
all.
and love with you is dead. So I mean, but really, I like that we have this family who he doesn't have powers, doesn't have anything that's like, well, you're stuck with me because like we got to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy that. Again, for me, the bad, of course, was the Nick Fury character at times, where he especially sees what essentially we find out later are the eggs of the cat, was
The
it the
Flurkin.
Flurkin, and
Yeah,
he's just very
that's-
much like.
That
I didn't
that
like
is where
any
I
of
wanted
that.
to go to next, is kind of the weird cosmic stuff. So
Yeah.
we get like a family of Flurkin that
Mhm.
end up on this Saber base.
Right.
And then we get I want to talk about the planet that they go to where the language is song, right?
Oh my
And so
God,
just the weird stuff that you get in a cosmic Marvel universe, it's silly and it's weird. I had fun. I
Yeah.
liked it. Like, I was loving when they were on that singing planet. When they first get introduced, like Kamala is Kamala. She's dancing around.
dancing
She's
in
like,
it, yeah.
this is great. Monica's like trying to problem solve. She's like, what's going on? How do I do this?
Right.
What do I do? And and Captain Marvel is like, I can't believe like we have to be here.
Yeah.
Like all
I
this stuff.
married this. All that.
Right. And I thought it was so fun. And like, even, like when they're introducing, it's like one could be more cheerful, and Monica's like,
Oh, that was
what
funny.
the hell?
Yeah.
Like,
I'll give him that.
You're throwing shade at me, and then he announces the Marvels, and Kamala's like, yes, the Marvels.
I do like Rambo. How is that a thing? Like,
Right.
it's not
How is
wrong.
that already
like,
a
how?
thing?
I was like,
It doesn't matter. It was
Nope,
it was
it's a thing.
wonderful.
It happens.
So I thought it was silly fun. I thought, it was like a 10-minute sequence, maybe not
Right.
even, maybe 5
Maybe.
minutes of like actual singing. And it's like, yeah, this is weird and it's, silly, but it's also like Marvel is weird and silly.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that we got a scene like that.
It-
The Flurkin, like swallowing the crew members as like we're getting the montage and the and the song and everything, like, yeah, and like, again, the little moment of like the tiny little kitten that's learning from its mom
Yeah.
how to stalk its prey. Like, I
Yes,
thought that was
funny.
hilarious. I
That
was having
was
so
funny.
much fun.
I just
I don't know.
here's my thing. I mean, they were the cat thing was just fun. It was just weird again how Nick Fury handled it. Like, you really haven't figured this out. You're still Nick Fury. You should know everything. But at the same time, the singing, I liked it better the second time. I will say that.
Okay. Yeah.
But here's my other thing. Again, I love the Cosmic Heroes. We got nothing with them, though. You had an opportunity to introduce Quasar or any of Galactus's heralds at any point in time. We can go with Nova. We can go with Silver Surfer. We can go with I forgot his name, begins with T. But like any of them, we could have Terex. Thank you.
Mhm.
It's like we could have gone with any of these guys, but you didn't touch on any of it, even if it's just a small cameo of like, hey, I could use some backup. And here's Moondragon, who's essentially the daughter of Thanos. Any of them. It's like we have all these characters out there. Heck, we still haven't seen Guardian. He's out there, and it's like I would have been nice to just touch on one of them. It's just that sprinkle of maybe the king of that planet was somebody like one of those guys, or maybe it breeze. You see a statue of Captain Marvel and another hero. It's like, oh well, yeah, we saved the planet together, kind of thing. And it could have been her and Surfer or something, or just a surfboard. It's like, well, what's that supposed to be? Oh yeah, I surf or something. And she just kind of maybe blows it off because she doesn't want people to know about him yet, because linked to Galactus and doesn't want people to know about a galactic threat like that. There's so much they could have touched on where my mind was like, but again, it was fun stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie was.
And I will say, Nick Fury, who I still, it's one of my least favorite plot points. I hate it. How he lost his eye, with the Flurkin original Captain Marvel,
Yeah.
slashing him in the eye. So dumb. But that the fact that he immediately picks up
Another
the
one.
kitten and does like the
Yes.
same thing with it, I'm like, that cat should have scratched your other eye out. Just teach you a lesson. Like, stop picking them up. What is wrong with you, Nick
Yeah,
Fury?
but like you said later, this is what all cat lovers do.
It
We do.
is. It is.
So
All right. Well,
okay.
let's talk about the post credit scene now. Of
Yes.
course.
Well, wait,
Uh,
before the post credit scene, the last scene in the actual movie though.
okay. Yeah. Oh,
Let's do that
yeah,
one.
yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, the Kamala Khan scene you're talking about,
Yes.
right? Okay. Yeah.
Because
Go
we get our
ahead.
cameo in there.
Mm-hmm.
So we get our cameo. We are inside an apartment, and as a shadow comes across the window, you see a bow and arrow or a bow. And opening it up, you see the dog that we've got used to from the
Pizza
Hawkeye
dog.
show, the pizza dog. And we see Barton, or not Barton, what's her name?
Kate
Kate
Bishop.
Bishop come in and shuts the door. And we see a silhouette of somebody sitting in a chair, a complete throwback to the original Iron Man with Nick Fury meeting Iron
You
Man.
think you're the only kid superhero in the world?
That scene hit so hard to get the second time for me. I was so happy. And
I love Haley Steinfeld in that moment being like, I'm 23. Like, I'm not,
she was just like,
what are you talking about?
but it was such like a Barton move too. Like she is going to be the Clint Barton of obviously.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, Barton would say this, but we get this almost homage to the original Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said yourself, it's Kamala Khan's way of doing it. I mean, she talks about like I'm putting a team together. What's just you and I?
It's just me,
or just me,
so
yeah.
far. I got some feelers out, but I want you to join, please.
Yep, please. It was such a fun scene, and it was so. Again, Kamala Khan as Nick Fury in that moment was funny. I loved it. And I think that go see it for just that scene. That was just hilarious.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then yes, Monica, of course, at the end of the movie sacrifices herself because the villain has inadvertently ripped this hole in space-time. She can repair it, but she has to go on the other side to do it.
I don't get
movie logic. We want her over there. So she ends up in the other universe. Of course, Captain Marvel tries to, save her, but really, she knew like this was a sacrifice she was willing to make. She wakes up in a hospital bed, sees the person that she thinks is her mom. It is not her mom. It is actually Binary, who is like another version of Captain Marvel, has very similar powers, cosmic based, type of character, played by Lashana Lynch. So the same actress that was in the original Captain Marvel as Maria Rambeau, and of course has played her mother, was also a Captain Marvel variant in Doctor Strange. So we get that actress back, and then in walks
the voice
Beast.
Yes,
voiced by Kelsey Grammer.
Yes,
the original Beast from the Fox X-Men movies, and kind of drops a little bit of knowledge about how we have some theories that maybe you got here from another universe, which of course is impossible. And I'm going to go update Charles. And
we name drop Charles Xavier right there.
We get an X-Men door in the background.
Yes, from the original films, that big X that we saw, grew up with.
So this is, I think that this is a very clear, this is how they're going to bring in these other teams, like we're going to get Fantastic Four, they're going to be from another universe. We're going to get X-Men, they're going to be from another universe. They're going to pull in variants. There's been so many rumors about, are they going to bring Tony Stark back? Are they going to bring Robert Downey Jr. back? They're going to bring him from another universe. Maybe it'll just be a cameo. Maybe he won't be a main character moving forward. I don't know. But they're absolutely going to bring these variants in. And, as we get to Secret Wars and probably a universe resetting, that's what they're going to do. And we're going to have a new timeline moving forward where we have all of these teams in the same universe. We're going to have Avengers and X-Men and Fantastic Four and everything. They're all going to be in the same universe. And, I'm here for it. Let's do it.
At this point, let me say something. DC, this is how you do a reset. DC.
We don't just do it in one single movie.
No, we don't do it in one single movie with a shitty actor that nobody likes, who can't run. We've gone over this several times. But yes, this is how you do it. You build up, like you said, we got X-Men, meaning, because I thought when we saw that tear in space and time, I was wondering, is it the Cancerverse? Is it the Negative Zone? Because the Negative Zone would have also been a good throw.
Sure.
The Cancerverse is a universe where Captain Marvel, the original, never died due to cancer because they literally assembled the Avengers to go kill death, and no one dies in that universe. Hence, it's called the Cancerverse because no one dies. And it almost became a cancer and bled into our universe. They had to do a whole lot of things about bringing Thanos in, and it's one of those. I was excited to see what we were going to get. I am completely happy that she's in the, I guess, Fox universe right now with the original Beast, and fingers crossed, maybe we'll get the original Charles Xavier. I don't mind. I like both guys playing Charles. I liked Patrick Stewart, and I liked I forgot his name.
James McAvoy.
James McAvoy. Yeah, I thought both of them did amazing. So I'm happy with whichever one we get.
For the most part, the X-Men movies have always had really solid casting. So yeah, I mean, like, they want to bring Michael Fassbender back as Magneto. I'd be on board. Like, he was great. I think they're going to want to go young and maybe different. So maybe we won't get these same X-Men characters or those same, versions. We know we're getting Hugh Jackman back in Deadpool 3.
With
so
we're getting spandex.
Yeah, so we're getting, different variants and things like that. Either way, I'm here for it. Let's go. Like, I'm so happy that we finally have an X-Men appearance in the MCU. We got Professor X in Doctor Strange, but it wasn't really X-Men, right? It was Professor X as part of the Illuminati. This is like, no, we're at the X-Men compound. This is Beast, and this is like, I had so much fun with it.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Let's do it. It was a good movie. It was a fun time. If you stuck around this whole time and you've listened to our spoilers, but you haven't seen it yet, I don't know what's wrong with you. But go see it. We had a lot of fun, and definitely this is worth the watch. I enjoyed it. It's a fun chapter. Is it the most important or the most impactful movie ever? No, but I had a really fun time with it. So
same. So on that note, guys, definitely check out all of our other videos at Official GYG on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. And on that note, we are taking off, guys. I'm Aaron, and that's Robert. Stay geeky and get your geek on, guys.
Bye.